Papa! No! The gunshot cracked through the soul alley like thunder splitting stone. She felt the impact before the pain, a sledgehammer to her right side that sent her sprawling against wet concrete. Blood bloomed hot and fast through her fingers as she pressed them to the wound, her vision already blurring at the edges. The little boy's scream cut through the ringing in her ears. She'd saved him. That was all that mattered. 8 bodies lay scattered around them, the men who'd come to kill a child, and she'd stopped every single one of them, even though she'd sworn she was done with this life. Done with violence. Done with everything. But when she'd heard his cry for help 3 minutes ago, something ancient and maternal had overridden her death wish. Now she was paying for it. Heavy footsteps approached. Through the haze of shock, she saw him, tall, sharp-featured, expensive suit splattered with rain and someone else's blood. The Korean Mafia boss she'd just robbed of his kill. His face was carved from granite, eyes dark and cold as he raised his gun again, this time aimed at her head. "Papa, stop!" The boy, maybe 11, terror-bright eyes and blood on his school uniform, threw himself between them. "She saved me. She's not one of them." The boss froze. His finger was already tightening on the trigger. 1 second. Half a second. The space between her life and her death was a heartbeat, and she watched it play across his face. Confusion, then recognition of what his son was saying, then something that might have been horror. But his face went cold again. Blank. Whatever he'd felt, he buried it so deep it might as well have never existed. Boss. Men in black suits materialized from the shadows, weapons drawn, scanning the carnage. "We need to move. Police will be here in minutes. What do we do with her?" The boss stared at her. She stared back, blood pooling beneath her, the world starting to tilt and spin. She should say something. Beg for her life, maybe? But she'd come to Seoul 6 months ago to disappear. To fade into nothing, and getting shot in an alley trying to save a kid seemed like as good an ending as any. Better than she deserved after what happened to Marcus. "Bring her," the boss said finally, voice flat. "Let's see if she's worth saving." 2 guards grabbed her under the arms. The movement sent agony screaming through her torso, and she bit down on a scream, tasting copper. Her vision whited out. When it came back, she was being shoved into the back of a black SUV, the boy's small hand gripping hers with surprising strength. "You're going to be okay," he whispered in careful English, each word precisely formed like he'd practiced. "Papa's the best. He'll fix you." She wanted to tell him that some things couldn't be fixed, that she'd been broken long before tonight, but consciousness was slipping away like water through her fingers. And the last thing she saw before the darkness took her was the boss's face in the rearview mirror, watching her with eyes that revealed absolutely nothing. If you're already hooked, hit that subscribe button. This story is just getting started. Drop a comment and tell me what you think happens next. The world came back in fragments. Fluorescent lights too bright. The smell of antiseptic and copper. Voices speaking rapid Korean she couldn't understand. Pain, distant and muted, like it was happening to someone else's body. BP dropping, we need to move faster. Pupils responsive, she's strong. No ID, no records, boss, she's a ghost. That last part was in English, meant for her to hear maybe, or just for the boss who stood somewhere beyond her field of vision. She tried to focus, tried to move, but her body was lead and cotton and agony all at once. Someone was cutting away her shirt, gloved hands probing the wound. She wanted to fight, to get up, to run. Survival instinct from 1,000 missions, 1,000 moments of being vulnerable and exposed and in danger, but her limbs wouldn't obey. Through and through. Missed the liver by centimeters, but she's losing blood fast. "I need." The rest dissolved into medical jargon and the whine of machines. Surgery. They were doing surgery right here, wherever here was. Not a hospital. Somewhere private. Somewhere off the books. Somewhere she couldn't escape from. The thought should have terrified her. Instead, as the drugs pulled her under again, all she felt was a strange, distant disappointment. She'd had a clean exit, a bullet in an alley, saving a child, redemption and release all in one. Now she was trapped in whatever fresh hell this was, owing a debt to a man who'd tried to kill her, pulled back into a world she'd walked away from. Marcus's face swam up from memory, his gap-toothed smile, his laugh, the way he'd hug her legs when she came home from deployments. 7 years old and already so much like her, it hurt. Had hurt. Past tense, because Marcus was dead and it was her fault, and she'd spent 6 months in Seoul waiting for the courage to finish what the contractor's hit squad had started. The darkness was a mercy. She let it take it. Time became meaningless. Sometimes she was aware. The ceiling, distant voices, the boy's face appearing above her with worried eyes. Other times, there was nothing but fever dreams and phantom pain, and Marcus calling for her in the smoke and flames while she ran toward him but never got closer. When she finally clawed her way to full consciousness, she had no idea how long it had been. The room was small, windowless, lit by a single lamp. Medical equipment beeped softly beside the bed. Her right side was bandaged, tight and professional, and when she tried to sit up, the pain was real, but manageable. Days then, maybe a week. The door opened. The boy slipped, the boy inside, moving quiet as a ghost. When he saw her eyes open, his whole face lit up. "You're awake." He kept his voice to a whisper. "I knew you'd be okay. I told Papa you were strong. Where am I?" Her throat was sandpaper. The boy immediately grabbed a water bottle from the side table, helped her drink. The kindness of it made something twist in her chest. "Papa's safe house, in Gangnam." He settled into the chair beside her bed like he'd spent a lot of time there. "You've been asleep for 5 days. The doctor said you almost died twice." 5 days. The contractors would have moved on by now, assumed she was already dead. Or they'd be searching every hospital in Seoul. Either way, staying here was dangerous. For her. For these people. "I need to leave." "Papa says you can't." The boy said it matter-of-factly. "You have no identification. No records. The guards couldn't find anything about you. Papa wants to know who you are." Of course he did. She'd dropped 8 bodies in that alley with a bullet wound and enough skill to make it clear she wasn't a civilian. Any smart crime boss would want answers before letting a threat like that walk free. "What's your name?" she asked instead. "Minho." He smiled, and she saw his mother in that smile. Whoever she was, wherever she was, this boy had known love. "What's yours?" She almost said her real name, caught herself. Sarah, the cover she'd been using in Seoul, generic, forgettable. "Where's your mother, Minho?" His smile faded. "She died when I was 6. Bad people hurt her." The matter-of-fact way he said it made it worse somehow. A child who'd learned too young that the world was cruel and parents weren't immortal. She knew that lesson intimately. "I'm sorry. It's okay. Papa takes care of me." Minho tilted his head, studying her with unsettling intensity for an 11-year-old. "You lost someone too. I can tell." She looked away. "You should go. Your father won't want you talking to me." "Papa said I could visit if you woke up. He said you saved my life." Minho's hand found hers, small and warm. "Thank you for helping me, even though you got hurt." The twist in her chest tightened. She couldn't do this. Couldn't let herself care about this boy. Couldn't let his gratitude mean anything. She was a dead woman walking. Had been for 6 months. The only reason she was still breathing was because she'd been too much of a coward to pull the trigger herself. "I need to sleep," she lied, pulling her hand away. Minho nodded, unbothered by the rejection. "Okay. I'll come back later." He paused at the door. "Papa wants to see you too. When you're ready. He has questions." She bet he did. After Minho left, she took inventory. The wound was healing. She could feel it. The deep ache that meant her body was knitting itself back together. They'd already done good work. Professional. Her clothes were gone, replaced with loose cotton pants and a t-shirt. No restraints, but when she tried the door, it was locked from the outside. So, prisoner then. She'd been in worse situations. The contractor's black site in Yemen, that cartel compound in Guadalajara. This was almost comfortable by comparison, which meant they either didn't know what she was capable of, or they had enough security to not be worried. Time to find out which. She spent the next 3 hours testing her mobility, working through the pain, measuring what her body could do. The wound would slow her, but not stop her. She found her boots in the small closet. They'd kept those at least. No weapons, no phone. The medical equipment was bolted down. The window was painted over, but she could feel air movement. Ventilation shaft, maybe. She'd need tools to access it. When the door opened again, it wasn't Minho. It was him, the boss. Up close, he was younger than, she'd thought. Mid-30s, maybe, with the kind of face that had seen too much and learned not to show it. He moved like a predator, all controlled economy of motion, and his eyes when they met hers were flat and unreadable. You're awake. Not a question. He probably had cameras. You shot me. You were covered in blood, holding my son, surrounded by bodies. I made a tactical decision. No apology in his voice, no regret. He tells me you saved him. I did. Why? She almost laughed. Because he's a child who was about to die. I don't need a better reason than that. He studied her like she was a puzzle, something to be taken apart and understood. The men you killed worked for the Jade Dragons, rival organization. They used another child to lure my son out, set a trap. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. By the time I tracked him down, you'd already neutralized all 8. Neutralized. She let the clinical word hang between them. That's one way to put it. Who are you? Sarah, I already told your son. Sarah with no last name doesn't exist. He pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, turned it toward her. Empty search results. No records. No digital footprint. Sarah is a ghost. A very convenient ghost who happened to be in that alley with military-grade combat training and no identification. So I'll ask again. Who are you? She met his eyes and said nothing. His expression didn't change, but something shifted in the air between them. Tension. Threat. I could make you tell me. You could try. For 3 seconds they stared at each other. Then he pocketed his phone. You're alive because my son asked me to let you live. That debt is paid, but you're not leaving until I know you're not a threat to my family. Then you're keeping me prisoner. I'm keeping you safe. Every hospital in Seoul is being watched. The Jade Dragons want revenge. You killed 8 of their men. They'll hunt you down the moment you're out in the open. Here, you're protected. I didn't ask for your protection. No. His gaze sharpened. You asked for nothing. You just fought like a woman with nothing to lose. That's interesting to me. That's worth understanding. Before she could respond, before she could tell him to go to hell, he was gone. The door locked behind him with a solid click. She was alone again. Trapped. Protected. Same difference when you couldn't leave. She pressed her hand to the bandage on her side and felt the anger building. Not at him, but at herself. At the universe. At whatever cosmic joke had kept her alive when all she wanted was to die in peace. Marcus deserved better than a mother who'd failed him, who'd been too arrogant, too confident in her abilities to see the trap until it was too late, who'd come home to find their apartment in flames and her baby boy already gone. The contractors had wanted to send a message. They'd succeeded. Now she was here, in Seoul, in a crime boss's safe house, owing a debt she never wanted, and trapped in a life she'd tried to escape. The cruelty of it would have been funny if it wasn't so fucking painful. She lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling and tried not to think about anything at all. 2 weeks. That's how long they kept her in that room, recovering, before she decided she was done waiting. The wound was healing slower than she'd hoped. Infection had set in on day 7, requiring more antibiotics and setting her back. But her body had always been good at surviving damage that should have killed her. Special ops training and good genetics. The same gifts that had made her valuable to the contractors. The same gifts that had gotten Marcus killed. She waited until the guards changed shift. She'd timed it. 3 a.m., a 2-minute window when the hallway outside was empty. The lock was decent, but not impossible. She had a bobby pin from her hair and 11 years of experience breaking into places she wasn't supposed to be. It took 90 seconds. The door clicked open. The hallway was dark. Plush carpet muffling her footsteps. She moved like smoke, like shadow, every instinct from 100 missions singing in her blood. 2 doors down, stairs at the end. No cameras she could see, but that didn't mean they weren't there. She made it to the stairs, started down, made it 3 steps before she heard Minho's voice behind her. "You're leaving." She froze, turned. The boy stood in the hallway in pajamas, barefoot, looking at her with those 2 old eyes. "Go back to bed, Minho." "Papa said you'd try to run." He didn't move. "He said people like you always do." "People like me?" "People who are sad, who hurt inside." Minho walked closer. "You lost someone, like we lost Mama, and you think leaving will make it stop hurting. You don't know anything about me. I know you saved my life when you didn't have to. I know you have nightmares. I heard you screaming last night. I know." His voice cracked slightly. "I know you're the first person besides Papa who made me feel safe since Mama died." The words hit like bullets. She forced herself to stay cold. "That's not my problem, kid." "I know." His eyes were wet, but he wasn't crying. "But Papa says you can't leave yet anyway. The bad men are looking for you. They'll kill you." "Then they'll kill me." She turned away, started down the stairs again, and that's when she heard it. The front door crashing open. Shouts in Korean. Gunfire. Contractors. They'd found her. She moved on pure instinct, grabbing Minho and pulling him back from the stairs as bullets chewed through the walls. The boy didn't scream, just clung to her, trembling, but silent. Trained for this. God, what kind of life had this child lived? More gunfire from below, the boss's men engaging. She needed a weapon. Needed to get Minho somewhere safe. Needed. A figure appeared at the top of the stairs. Black tactical gear. Professional. He saw her and his gun came up and she was already moving, shoving Minho toward a doorway as she threw herself at the shooter. No weapon, no backup, just her body and her training and the white-hot clarity that came with survival instinct. She caught his wrist, redirected the gun as he fired. The bullet went wide. She drove her knee into his gut, twisted, used his momentum to send him tumbling down the stairs, grabbed his weapon on the way down, a pistol, full magazine, 15 rounds. "Minho, hide!" She didn't look back to see if he obeyed. 2 more contractors were coming up the stairs. She shot the first one in the throat. The second got a round off that grazed her shoulder. Pain, sharp and bright, but not debilitating. She put 2 in his chest. The gunfire below intensified. She could hear the boss shouting orders in Korean. How many contractors? How many of his men? She needed to get down there. Needed to... Something exploded. The whole building shook. Smoke and dust billowed up the stairs. Footsteps behind her. She spun, gun up. But it was the boss, blood on his face, fury in his eyes. "Get my son out of here," he snarled. "Where?" "Back bedroom. Fire escape. Go." More contractors were flooding in. She saw them through the smoke. Professional kill team. Coordinated. Well-trained. The kind of operators the contractors always sent when they wanted someone dead and buried. The kind she used to be. She ran for the bedroom. Found Minho huddled in the closet, exactly where she'd told him to hide. Smart kid. "Come on, we're leaving." "Papa, your father can handle himself." "Move." She pulled him out, checked the fire escape. Clear for now. They started down, her wound screaming with every movement, fresh blood soaking through her shirt. 3 flights. 2. 1. They hit the alley and she saw them. Two more contractors flanking the exit. Ambush. They'd planned for her to run. She pushed Minho behind her, raised the gun. 12 rounds left, 2 targets. Simple math. The contractors smiled. They had her boxed in. Then the boss was there, appearing from the side exit like an avenging angel, and the alley exploded into violence. He moved like liquid death, like every brutal thing she'd ever seen in combat zones distilled into one man. 3 shots. Both contractors down. He grabbed her arm. Car. Now. They ran. Minho between them, the boy's hand in hers. An SUV screeched around the corner. More of his men. They piled in. The driver hit the gas before the doors were even closed. Gunfire shattered the back window. She threw herself over Minho, covering him with her body as glass rained down. Returned fire from the boss's men. The SUV swerved, accelerated, and then they were racing through Seoul's pre-dawn streets, sirens wailing in the distance. Drop a comment right now. Do you think she should have stayed and fought, or was running the right call? And hit that like button if you're as hooked as I am. They drove for 20 minutes, switching cars twice, before pulling into an underground garage in Songpa district. Different safe house. Different part of the city. More fortified than the last. She felt the adrenaline crash coming, her hands starting to shake. The wound had reopened, not badly, but blood seeped through the bandages. The graze on her shoulder burned. Get her inside. The boss was on his phone, barking orders in Korean. And get my son somewhere secure. No. Minho grabbed her hand again. I stay with her. Minho, she protected me, Papa. She got shot protecting me again. I stay with her. The boss looked between them, and something complicated crossed his face. Anger, gratitude, something else she couldn't name. Fine, but you stay in the medical room. Both of you. This safe house was bigger. Steel-reinforced doors and security cameras at every angle. A doctor was already waiting, the same one from before. He took one look at her wound and started swearing in Korean. The stitches held, but you're bleeding again. On the table. Now. She obeyed. Minho sat in the corner, watching everything with those intense eyes. The boss stood by the door, phone still pressed to his ear, but his gaze kept flicking to her. The doctor worked fast. Local anesthetic this time, thank God. She gritted her teeth as he cleaned and restitched. Pain was an old friend. Pain she could handle. What she couldn't handle was the way Minho was looking at her. Like she was a hero. Like she mattered. They'll come again, she said when the doctor finished. The contractors, they won't stop until I'm dead. I know. The boss had finished his call. He dismissed the doctor with a gesture, waited until they were alone as they could be with Minho there. The Jade Dragons were one problem. This is different. These were professionals, military-grade training, American accents. His eyes bored into her. You're not just running from a rival gang. You're running from something much bigger. She said nothing. One of the dead had a radio. I heard what they called you before he went down. The boss's voice went very quiet. Very dangerous. The lioness. They said the lioness was here. That killing you would earn someone a promotion. Her blood went cold. So I'll ask one more time, and this time I want the truth. He stepped closer. Who are you really? The anger that had been building for weeks, months, finally boiled over. You want the truth? Fine. My real name is Kendra Hayes, former Special Operations, international contracts, off-the-books wet work for people who pay well and don't ask questions. I spent 11 years killing people for money. I was good at it. The best. Her voice was razor blades. Then I found out my contractors were running weapons to cartels, trafficking kids, working with some of the same monsters they were paying me to eliminate. I said no. I kept evidence, encrypted files, recordings, everything. I refused to do their dirty work anymore. She could feel the words cutting her throat on the way out, but she couldn't stop. So they sent a team to my apartment in Atlanta. They wanted to make it look like a burglary gone wrong, but my 7-year-old son was home. Marcus, he was. Her voice broke. She forced it steady again. They burned the building, made sure I'd know it was them, made sure I'd know the price of betrayal. I got there 20 minutes too late, found his body in what used to be his bedroom. He was still holding his dinosaur. The silence was absolute. Minho's hand found hers. She wanted to pull away but couldn't. I've been running for 8 months. Seoul was supposed to be the end of the line, far enough from the contractor's usual operations that maybe I could just fade away, die quietly. But then your son screamed in that alley and She laughed, bitter and broken. I couldn't let another child die. Couldn't. So I saved him and you shot me, and now the contractors know I'm here and they won't stop. They never stop. They'll level this building, your organization, everyone you love, just to get to me. She looked at the boss. So, yes, I'm a threat to your family. I'm the biggest threat you've ever let inside your walls. You should put a bullet in my head right now and dump my body in the Han River. It would be the smart play. The boss stared at her for a long moment. Then he pulled up a chair and sat down. The men who killed your son, these contractors, they work for whom? Shadow networks, international corruption, governments, corporations, anyone with enough money and willingness to get their hands dirty. I have evidence, files, recordings, everything stored on an encrypted server with a dead man's switch. Enough to bring down officials in 6 countries. That's why they want me dead. Not revenge, damage control. And you came to Seoul because I was tired, because I wanted it to end. Because, she closed her eyes. Because every day I wake up and my son is still dead, and it's still my fault. It's not your fault. Minho's voice was small but fierce. The bad men did it, not you. I should have protected him. You tried. You couldn't. The boss's voice was flat. I lost my wife 4 years ago. Rival attack. She was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I had all the power, all the resources, and I couldn't save her. Minho was 6. He watched it happen. She opened her eyes, looked at him, really looked, and saw the same grief she carried reflected back at her. We blame ourselves, he continued, but the blame belongs to the ones who pulled the trigger. You didn't kill your son. They did. And now they're coming for you here, in my city, my territory. His expression hardened into something cold and deadly. That's unacceptable, she almost laughed. You can't fight them. They have resources, connections. So do I. He leaned forward. You have information that powerful people want buried. I have an organization that specializes in keeping things alive that others want dead. Your contractors made a mistake coming here. They assumed I'd give you up. They assumed wrong. Why would you help me? You don't even know me. You saved my son twice now. That debt isn't paid with protection. It's paid with loyalty. He stood. You want to die? You want to give up? Fine, but not on my watch, not while you're under my roof. And my name is Taejun. Taejun Park. Use it. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him he was making a mistake. But the exhaustion was catching up, the blood loss, and the pain, and the weight of 8 months running finally crashing down on her shoulders. What do you want from me? She asked quietly. To survive. And while you're surviving, his eyes glinted. Your former special ops, military-grade training, the Lioness. You're going to train my men, make them better, make them ready for whatever's coming. And if I refuse? Then you're just taking up space until the contractors come for you again. Make yourself useful, Kendra Hayes, or make yourself gone. He left. Took Minho with him despite the boys' protests. The door locked behind them. She was alone again. But this time, something was different. This time, she had a name, a purpose, a reason to wake up tomorrow that wasn't just momentum and cowardice. She pressed her hand to her bandaged side and felt the anger transforming into something else. Something sharper, cleaner. The contractors wanted her dead. They'd taken everything from her. Her son, her career, her life. Maybe it was time to take something back. 3 days later, once the doctor cleared her for light activity, Taejun came to her room with a proposition. My men are gathering in the training facility downstairs. I want you to demonstrate what you can do. I'm still healing? I know, that's the point. Show them what wounded looks like when it's trained and motivated. She followed him down. The facility was professional. Mats, equipment, weapons locked in cases along the wall. 20 men waited, all sizes and shapes, all with the hard eyes of career criminals. They looked at her with undisguised skepticism. A woman, a black woman, a foreigner, wounded. She could read their thoughts like they were written on their faces. "This is Kendra," Taejun said in English, then repeated something in Korean. "Some of you know her as the Lioness. Former Special Operations. She's going to train you." One of the men, big, scarred, arms like tree trunks, laughed. "Train us? Boss, with respect, she can barely stand." "Then it should be easy for you to take her down," Taejun gestured. "Go ahead. Show us." The man looked uncertain, but his pride wouldn't let him back down in front of his brothers. He stepped onto the mat. She met his eyes. "Ground rules. You try to kill me, I try to kill you. First one who taps out or stops moving loses. I'm not going to hurt you, you're—" She moved, fast, inside his guard before he could react, swept his leg, used his own weight against him, and had him on the ground with her knee on his throat in under 3 seconds. "I'm what?" she asked quietly. He tapped. She let him up. The room was silent. "Again," Taejun said. "Someone else." They came at her one by one. She put them down. Every time. Not through strength. She couldn't match them there. Not with the wound slowing her. Through technique. Through reading their movements before they made them. Through 11 years of learning how to kill efficiently. By the time she'd dropped the 5th man, they were watching her with different eyes. Respect. Maybe a little fear. One of them, younger than the rest, maybe mid-20s, with sharp eyes and a fighter's build, stepped forward. "I'm Jin," he said in accented English. "Teach me." "The Lioness doesn't rely on being the biggest or the strongest," she said, breathing hard, sweat stinging the wound. "She relies on being smarter, faster, more willing to do what needs to be done. That's what I'm going to teach you. How to fight like you have nothing to lose. Because someday, you won't." Taejun nodded. "Training starts tomorrow. 6 a.m. Don't be late." The men filed out, muttering to each other in Korean. She caught some of it. Her language skills were basic, but improving. They were impressed. Wary. Good. Both were useful. Taejun stayed behind. "You're bleeding again." She looked down. Fresh blood on her shirt. "It happens. The doctor—" "I'm fine, I've had worse." She met his eyes. "You're using me, making me an asset. I get it. But understand something. I'm not staying. Once the contractors are dealt with, once I'm not a threat to you and Minho anymore, I'm gone. Where will you go? Does it matter? It does if you're planning to die. My son has already lost his mother. I won't let him get attached to someone who's planning to leave him too." The words hit harder than they should have. "Then keep him away from me." "He won't stay away. He's stubborn. Like his mother. Like you." Taejun stepped closer. "You're not the only one who's lost everything, Kendra. The difference is I'm still fighting. Still here. For him. Good for you. You could be too. Still here. Still fighting." "For what?" The anger flared hot and sudden. "My son is dead. The contractors will never stop hunting me. I have evidence that could bring down half the corrupt officials in the international community, but releasing it would just paint a bigger target on my back. There's no endgame where I win. There's just survival until I can't survive anymore." "Then make yourself worth surviving for." He turned to leave, paused at the door. "The contractor we captured from the attack? He's in the basement. Thought you might want to have a conversation with him." Her heart rate kicked up. What kind of conversation? The kind where you get answers, the kind where you figure out who's pulling the strings. His eyes were cold. And the kind where you decide if you want revenge or if you want to keep running. He left her alone with that. Choice. She went to the basement. The contractor was tied to a chair, bloodied but conscious. Ex-military, she could tell from his bearing. Professional. He looked up when she entered, and something like recognition crossed his face. The lioness herself. They said you were dead. They were wrong. She pulled up a chair, sat across from him. Who sent you? He laughed. You know, I can't tell you that. You will. Eventually. Question is whether you do it the easy way or the hard way. I've been through worse than whatever you can do. I'm sure you have, but here's the thing. She leaned forward. I don't need you to tell me names. I already know the names. I have the evidence. What I need to know is why now, why come after me in Seoul? I've been here 6 months, why wait? Something flickered in his eyes. They didn't know I was here, she said slowly, reading him. Not until a few days ago. Not until I showed up. On someone's radar. The alley. The bodies. Someone noticed. He said nothing, but she could see she was right. Who's watching the morgues? The hospitals? Who called it in? You're already dead, lioness. You just don't know it yet. We're the first team. There are others. They'll keep coming until... She moved fast. Her fist connected with his throat. Not hard enough to kill, just hard enough to cut off his air. He gasped, eyes bulging. My son was 7 years old. He collected dinosaurs. He wanted to be a paleontologist. Your people burned him alive to teach me a lesson. So you'll forgive me if I don't have much patience for threats. She released him. Let him breathe. They'll kill everyone around you, he wheezed. Everyone you care about. That's the protocol. Eliminate the target and anyone who might have been contaminated with the information. The boss upstairs, his kid, all of them, dead because of you. The words landed like bullets. Unless you give yourself up, come in. We'll make it clean. Quick. And everyone else lives. She stood, looked down at him. You know what the funny thing is? I almost believe you, that they'd let them live. But we both know how this really works. Once I'm gone, everyone who's seen me, everyone who knows anything, they're loose ends, and your people don't leave loose ends. She walked to the door, paused. You're going to die down here. You know that, right? Taejun doesn't leave witnesses. But before you do, think about this. You're dying for people who'd burn your family just as fast as they burned mine if it served their purposes. At least I know what I'm fighting for. She left him there, went upstairs, found Taejun in his office staring at security feeds. He told you they're coming, he said without looking up. He told me everyone around me is a target, that they won't stop until every potential witness is eliminated. She stood in the doorway. I should leave. Now. Before they track me here. They already know you're here. Leaving won't change that. Then I'm putting you and Minho in danger by staying. You're putting us in danger either way. He finally looked at her. The question is whether we face it together or separately. I choose together. Why? You barely know me. I know you saved my son. Twice. I know you're trained, capable, and motivated. I know you have information that powerful people want buried, that makes you valuable. He stood, moved to the window. And I know what it looks like when someone has given up. I saw it in the mirror for 2 years after my wife died, until Minho reminded me that I had something worth living for. I'm not looking for a pep talk. I'm not giving you one. I'm giving you a choice. He turned to face her. Stay. Train my men. Help me. Prepare for what's coming. We fight the contractors together. We expose the corrupt officials with your evidence. We make them pay for what they took from you. From both of us. Or you leave. Right now, I'll give you money, a car, and you can run until they catch you. Which they will. Maybe in a week, maybe in a month. But eventually, you'll be alone and outnumbered, and they'll put you down like they should have 8 months ago. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him he was wrong, but he wasn't. If I stay, they'll come. Hard. I'm counting on it. I want them to come. I want them to see what happens when they bring violence to my territory. His eyes were dark and cold. You're not the only one who wants revenge, Kendra. The Jade Dragons used my son as bait. The contractors invaded my safe house. They've made this personal. I'm going to make them regret that. She studied him, saw the same cold fury she carried, the same willingness to burn everything down for the people they loved. What do you get out of this? Really? The Jade Dragons destroyed, the contractors sent running, my organization stronger, my son safer. He paused. And maybe, if we're lucky, we both get to stop looking over our shoulders, waiting for the bullet we know is coming. It was insane. Suicidal. Everything logical said to refuse, to run, to not drag these people into her war. But she was so tired of running. I'll stay, she said quietly. But on one condition. Name it. If it comes down to it, if they breach your defenses and it's me or Minho, you save your son. You let them take me. You don't hesitate. Promise me. Taejun's expression didn't change. I don't make promises I won't keep. If it comes down to it, we fight. All of us. Together. That's the only promise I'll make. It should have bothered her. Should have made her angrier. Instead, she felt something shift in her chest. Something that felt almost like hope. When do we start? Now. He pulled up a file on his computer. These are the Jade Dragons' known locations. We're going to hit them, hard, fast, before they can coordinate with the contractors. And you're going to help me plan it. She moved to the desk, looked at the intel. Her mind was already working, categorizing threats, identifying weaknesses, building strategy. You'll need 3 teams. Hit them simultaneously. They won't expect that. They think you're on the defensive. Keep going. They worked through the night. By dawn, they had a plan. Aggressive, dangerous, but possible. As the sun came up, Taejun called his lieutenants in, explained the strategy. They looked skeptical until Kendra broke down the tactics, the timing, the contingencies. Jin, the young fighter who'd asked her to teach him, nodded along, his sharp eyes tracking every detail. Then they looked, impressed. We move in 3 days, Taejun said. Get your teams ready. The men filed out. She started to follow, but he stopped her. Get some rest. You're still healing. I'm fine. You're bleeding through your bandages again and you can barely stand up straight. Rest. That's an order. She wanted to argue, but the exhaustion was a physical weight. Fine, but I'm monitoring the operation remotely, non-negotiable. I wouldn't expect anything less. She made it back to her room, collapsed on the bed. Sleep should have come easy, but instead, she lay there staring at the ceiling, her mind racing. Marcus's face swam up from memory. His laugh, his smile, the way he'd curl up against her when he had nightmares and she'd tell him stories about brave knights and dragons until he fell back asleep. She'd failed him. Failed to protect him when it mattered most. But maybe she could protect Minho. Could make sure he didn't. Lose his father the way he'd lost his mother. Could make sure the contractors learned that killing children had consequences. It wasn't redemption. Nothing would ever give her that. But it was something. A purpose. A reason to wake up tomorrow. She closed her eyes, and for the first time in 8 months, she didn't dream about fire and screaming. She dreamed about Seoul's streets, about fighting, about standing her ground instead of running. When she woke, it was evening. Someone had left food by her door. Rice, soup, something that smelled amazing. She ate mechanically, tasting nothing, her mind already on the upcoming operation. A soft knock, Minho's voice. Can I come in? Yeah, he entered carrying a book. Papa's in meetings. I thought maybe I could read here if that's okay. She should say no, should keep her distance. but she nodded and he settled into the chair, opening his book, some fantasy novel in Korean with an English title, Harry Potter. You like that series? She asked. It's my favorite. Mama used to read it to me before. He trailed off. Now I read it myself. It helps. Remembering her voice. Kendra felt something twist in her chest again. What was she like, your mother? Minho's face lit up. She was beautiful, kind. She laughed a lot. Papa was different when she was alive. He smiled more. She made everything feel safe, you know? Yeah, I know. What was your son like? The question should have hurt. Did hurt. But she found herself answering anyway. Smart, funny, stubborn as hell. He'd argue with me about everything. Bedtime, vegetables, homework. But when it mattered, when someone needed help, he was always the first one there. He had this huge heart, her voice cracked. Too big for this world, maybe. I wish I could have met him. Me too. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, Minho reading, her pretending to rest while actually running through the mission parameters in her head. Kendra, Minho looked up. Are you going to leave? After you help Papa? I don't know. I hope you don't. Papa's different when you're around too. Better, like maybe he's not alone anymore. Before she could respond, Taejun appeared in the doorway. Minho, bed. Now. But now. The boy reluctantly left, casting one more hopeful look at her before disappearing down the hall. Taejun stayed. You don't have to engage with him. I know you're not planning to stay. He's a good kid. He is, and he's already lost too many people. I won't let him lose another. Then keep him away from me. I've tried. He doesn't listen. Taejun leaned against the doorframe. He sees something in you. Hope. Maybe. Someone who understands loss but keeps fighting anyway. I'm not a role model. Maybe not. But you're here. You're alive. For him, that's enough. He left before she could argue. She lay back down, staring at the ceiling again. In 3 days, they'd hit the Jade Dragons. In 3 days, she'd be back in the field, doing what she did best, controlled violence in service of a goal. It should have felt wrong, should have felt like she was sliding back into the life she'd tried to escape. Instead, it felt like coming home. The operation went perfectly. 3 simultaneous strikes on Jade Dragon strongholds. Taejun's men executed the plan flawlessly, and her tactical oversight from the command center meant minimal casualties on their side. She'd coordinated via radio, calling adjustments in real time, her mind sharp and clear in a way it hadn't been in months. Jin had led one of the teams, proving himself capable and smart. When they returned victorious, his men looked at her differently. Not just respect now, trust. But the victory was short-lived. 4 days later, while she was in the training facility working through forms with Jin and a few others, the alarms went off. Red lights, the sound of gunfire from outside, contractors. They'd found them again. She grabbed a weapon from the rack, a pistol, checked the magazine, full, and ran for the stairs. Met Taejun coming down, blood on his face, fury in his eyes. How many? She demanded. Dozen, maybe more. Professional team. They breached the perimeter. Minho? Safe room. But they're coming for you, Kendra. They don't care about collateral damage anymore. They're ready to level this whole building. More gunfire. Explosions. The building shook. I need to lead them away, she said. Draw them off. That's suicide. That's the point. They want me? Fine, but not here. Not with Minho in the building. She ran before he could stop her. Out the back exit, into the alley, and there they were. 2 contractors in tactical gear, weapons up. They saw her and smiled. There she is, the lioness. Command's going to be so happy when we bring your head back. She raised her pistol, counted the rounds mentally. 15. 2 targets. Simple math. You'll have to catch me first. She ran. They followed. Exactly as planned. 3 blocks, 4, leading them away from the safe house, away from Minho, away from everything. Her wound pulled with every step, but she pushed through the pain. The contractors were gaining, younger, faster, not carrying 8 months of grief and a healing bullet wound. She ducked into another alley, spun, fired twice, dropped one. The other found cover, returned fire. Bullets sparked off brick inches from her head. 13 rounds left, one target. She could do this. She moved, using the shadows, circling around. The contractor was good, but she'd been doing this longer. She got the angle, lined up the shot, squeezed the trigger. Click. Jam. The weapon had malfunctioned. The contractor heard it, stepped out of cover, weapon raised, that same smile on his face. Out of luck? That's unfortunate. She dropped the weapon, pulled her knife, always had a knife, and charged. No choice now, close quarters or death. The contractor fired, but she was already moving, inside his guard. The bullet grazed her ribs. Pain, sharp and immediate. She drove the knife up under his vest, between the ribs, into his heart. He went down, eyes wide with shock. She stood there, breathing hard, blood on her hands, pain radiating from her side and ribs. 2 wounds now, the old one and the new graze. She was running on fumes. Footsteps. More contractors. She turned, knife ready, gunfire. 3 contractors dropped before they could reach her. Taejun stepped out from behind her, smoking gun in hand, Jin and 3 more of his men with him. You really thought I'd let you die alone? He walked past the bodies, grabbed her arm. We're partners now, remember? We fight together, or not at all. I was trying to save... I know what you were trying to do. And it was stupid, brave, but stupid. He pulled her toward his car. More contractors are coming. We need to leave, now. Where? Somewhere they won't find us. Somewhere off the grid. I have a place. They drove for hours, out of Seoul, into the mountains. By the time they reached the compound, fortified, remote, defensible, the sun was setting. The doctor was already there, brought ahead of them. He looked at her new wound, the graze along her ribs, and shook his head. You're collecting bullet wounds like trophies. On the table. This time the treatment was faster. The graze was cleaned and bandaged, the old wound checked. Still healing properly despite the strain she'd put on it. You need rest, real rest, no training, no operations, nothing for at least a week. That's not doctor's orders, Taejun said, and mine. She wanted to argue, but the exhaustion was finally catching up. She nodded. That night, she couldn't sleep. Kept seeing the contractor's gun raised, kept feeling that acceptance of death. How easy it would have been to just let it happen. But Taejun had stopped her, saved her. Again. She found him on the balcony, staring at the mountains. Can't sleep either? He asked without turning. Too wired. She joined him at the railing. Thank you. For today. For not letting me die. Don't thank me. I need you. This fight isn't over. Is that the only reason? He finally looked at her. No. The word hung between them, heavy with meaning. Taejun, I know. It's complicated. We're in the middle of a war. You're still grieving. I'm still... He stopped, started again. But I need you to know, when I thought they'd killed you today, when I saw you facing them down in that alley, something in me broke. I've been cold for 4 years. Dead inside, going through the motions for Minho's sake. But you make me feel again, and I don't know if that's good or terrifying or both. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I can't give you what you want. I'm broken, damaged. I wake up every day wishing I was dead. I know. I did too, until recently. He moved closer. I'm not asking you to be healed. I'm asking you to stop trying to die. Can you do that? For Minho? For me? I don't know. Then let me ask you this. His hand found hers. When you were in that alley today, when you thought it was over, what did you think about? She closed her eyes. Marcus. And then I thought about Minho, about not being there to see him grow up, about leaving him alone, about, her voice cracked, about you, about not getting to see where this goes. Then that's your answer. He kissed her, soft and careful, and tasting like hope, and grief, and possibility, all mixed together. She kissed him back, something in her chest cracking wide open, 8 months of walls crumbling all at once. When they pulled apart, she was crying. "I'm so scared," she whispered. "I'm scared of caring again, of losing again, of—" "Me too." He held her face in his hands. "But we do it anyway. We care anyway, because the alternative is being dead inside, and we've both done that long enough." She nodded, couldn't speak, just held on to him like he was the only solid thing in a world that kept trying to tear her apart. They stood there for a long time, watching the stars come out over the mountains, and for the first time since Marcus died, Kendra Hayes let herself imagine a future that didn't end with a bullet. The next morning, everything changed again. She woke to shouting. Alarms. Taejun was already gone from the bed they'd shared, just sleeping, just holding each other, but it felt like more. Like promise. She grabbed her weapon, ran for the security room. Taejun was there, face grim, watching multiple screens showing armed men surrounding the compound. "How did they find us?" she demanded. "I don't know, but they're here. 24 contractors, military-grade equipment. They're not playing anymore." "Minho?" "Hidden, safe, but we're pinned down." She studied the screens, counted the attackers, assessed their positions. "We can't hold them off, there's too many." "I know. Then what's the play?" Taejun looked at her. "You broadcast on their frequency. Tell them you'll surrender if they let everyone else go." "No." "Kendra, I said no, we don't negotiate with terrorists, we fight." "This isn't your decision." "Yes, it is." She grabbed his arm, made him look at her. "I'm done running, done sacrificing myself. You taught me that. So we fight, together, all of us. And if we die, we die. Standing." He searched her face, saw she meant it. "You're insane." "Maybe, but I'm your insane. So let's show these bastards what happens when they back the lioness into a corner." A slow smile spread across his face. "I love it when you're terrifying." Get used to it. They planned fast. 3 defensive positions, her strategy, his leadership, his men's loyalty. It was a long shot, but it was a shot. As his men took positions, as weapons were distributed, and last checks were made, Taejun pulled her aside. "If this goes wrong, it won't. But if it does, I need you to promise me something. Get Minho out. There's a tunnel in the basement, car waiting half a kilometer away. Get him somewhere safe." "Taejun, promise me, Kendra. Please, he's everything. His voice broke. "He's the only good thing I've ever made. Promise me." She wanted to refuse, wanted to tell him they'd all survive, but she'd made too many promises she couldn't keep. "I promise." He kissed her, hard and desperate and tasting like goodbye. Then he was gone, moving to his position, barking orders in Korean. The contractors hit them 5 minutes later. The world exploded into violence, gunfire, explosions, smoke and chaos and the sharp clarity that came with combat. She moved through it like she was born to it, each shot placed with surgical precision, each decision cold and clean. Jin fought beside her, covering her blind spots, learning in real time. They held. Barely. The contractors were good, but Taejun's men were motivated, and her tactics gave them the edge. But then she saw him, the lead contractor, moving through the smoke toward the building's east wing, where the safe room was, where Minho was hidden. She didn't think, just moved. Intercepted him at the corridor, put 3 rounds in his chest. He went down, but not before triggering something. A radio call, a signal. More contractors converged on her position. Her magazine was empty. She dropped it, reached for another. A contractor tackled her from the side. They went down hard. Her weapon skittered away. He was on top of her, hands around her throat, squeezing. Her vision started to darken. She clawed at his hands, his face. No effect. He was too strong. This was it. Gunshot. The contractor's head snapped back. He collapsed on top of her. Jin pulled the body off, helped her up. You okay? She nodded, gasping for air, grabbed her weapon. Thanks. We're even now, he grinned. For the training. More gunfire erupted. They moved together, covering each other, pushing the contractors back. And then she saw Taejun, surrounded, 3 contractors on him. He was fighting hard, but they were overwhelming him. She ran, fired as she moved, dropped 2. The third turned toward her. Taejun shot him in the back. Their eyes met across the smoke and chaos. He nodded. She nodded back. They fought their way to each other, stood back to back, facing the remaining contractors. Together, he said, together. The final push. The contractors were breaking, retreating, victory within reach. And then she saw it. One last contractor, wounded, desperate, raising his weapon toward Taejun's back. Too far for her to reach. Too far to stop him. She threw herself between them, felt the bullet punch into her left shoulder, spinning her around. Pain exploded through her arm. She went down on one knee. Jin shot the contractor before he could fire again. Taejun was there immediately, catching her before she fell completely. Kendra, stay with me. I'm okay, she gasped. Shoulder wound, painful but not fatal. I'm okay. The gunfire was stopping. The contractors were down or fleeing. Police sirens in the distance. Someone had called them. Good. Let them come. Let them arrest whoever was left. Taejun helped her inside. The doctor appeared, already moving toward her. 3rd bullet wound in 3 weeks, the doctor muttered. You're trying to get yourself killed. Not anymore, she said, looked at Taejun. Not anymore. The doctor patched her up. Through and through in the shoulder. Clean. Would heal. She'd been lucky. Again. Minho emerged from the safe room, saw her bandaged and bloody, and burst into tears. You're hurt again. You keep getting hurt because of us. She pulled him close with her good arm. Listen to me. I didn't get hurt because of you. I got hurt because I chose to protect your father. Because he matters to me. Because you both matter to me. Understand? But no buts. She looked at Taejun over Minho's head. I'm staying. Really staying. If you'll have me. Taejun's hand found hers. Squeezed. Always. Minho looked up at her with those 2 old eyes. Really? You promise? She thought about all the promises she'd broken, all the ways she'd failed the people she loved. But she looked at this boy, at his father, at the future she could see stretching out before them, dangerous and uncertain and absolutely worth fighting for. And she made a promise she intended to keep. I promise I'm not going anywhere. For the first time in 8 months, Kendra Hayes let herself believe in tomorrow, and it felt like coming home. That's the end of episode 1, but this is just the beginning of Kendra's story. Will the contractors come back with a bigger force? Can she really expose the corrupt officials without destroying everything she's built? And what happens when her past comes face to face with her future? Subscribe now so you don't miss episode 2 and let me know in the comments. Team Kendra all the way, or did she make a mistake staying? Hit that like button if you're ready for more action, more drama, and more of the lioness's story. See you in the next episode.